When it comes to home decor, as a designer, there's a lot of rules that I love to break, but there's some that I never break. And I have found that these are things that all designers kind of agree upon. Whether they're maximalist, whether they're minimalist, whether they love contemporary or traditional design, there's certain things that all designers do. And these are rules that I think none of us should break, and I have a feeling most designers are going to agree. But we'll have to see what you guys think. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. We have an amazing community of interior design enthusiasts and also just people who love to hang out and talk about decor and shopping. So we have a lot of fun here. Hope you'll join us by hitting subscribe, and let's jump into today's video. I'm gonna set the coffee down because I think I was spilling it. I can't talk, okay? Cannot talk and hold a coffee simultaneously. Okay, so rule number one, I feel like this is the number one thing that designers always talk about. It does not matter what their style is, what their background is, what color schemes they like, none of it matters. Designers are just like, never hang your curtains in the wrong place. I mean, if you get online, the pictures you will find of curtains being hung in an improper way are endless. You see all kinds of funny ones when people have weird shaped windows and they don't know what to do with them, like, right? And people just do the craziest things. But most designers will agree that the curtains need to be hung as close to the ceiling as possible. And it's just a rule that just seems to work for everybody. Now, the debate comes into the length. Right? Most designers, they'll say, oh, let's get the curtains of whatever fabric you want. We'll get them, they can be patterned, they can be silk, they can be linen, they can be cotton, whatever, lined, unlined, right? Oh, curtains themselves can be done in lots of different materials, shapes, and sizes, but they need to be hung as high as possible. And when it comes to the length, that is still up for debate because there's still so much argument about it. I'm like, oh, most say to let the curtain kind of skim the floor, and then you'll hear a designer that says, oh, then it ends up just curling. So I just think it's kind of funny. I would say that most designers would agree to never have them just hanging randomly in the air, right? They're always gonna need to at least skim the floor, if not even just puddle. Both of those looks seem to be acceptable by most designers, but I think like almost all of them agree that the curtain should be hung as high as possible to the ceiling. It's just a rule that just works. It looks really refined, it looks finished, it makes the room feel a lot taller. But either way, I do think that having curtains in a room really just adds a lot of refinement, it adds a sophistication, and it can also add privacy. It can be convenient to be able to block out light. And yeah, they make the room look finished. I think they're really nice. So she says, well, being in a room without curtains, but there you go. I can't afford to hang my curtains close to the ceiling in this room yet. So, well, I've spent my money on other things, but you know what I'm saying, okay? If I put curtains in this room, I'm gonna have to hang them all the way at the ceiling. And this is a 2-story room. And when I got the quote for them, I think they were gonna be like $10,000. And I was like, I'd rather go on a vacation. So I get it if it's expensive. I know why you would want to not hang them so high and why you wouldn't want to pay so much money for the curtains, but you know, I do think it does look better. The next thing that I feel safe in saying that all designers believe that you should choose the right size rug. Every time I see a list of like designers' no-nos, the things that they feel like you should never break the rules, the curtains and the rug, these are always on those lists. It drives designers crazy when people pick the wrong size rug for their room. And the thing is that a lot of times people don't actually know what size rug they're supposed to buy. Now, I always say go as big as possible. The smallest you would want to go, say, for example, in the living room is that at least all of the front legs of all the sofas and any chairs in the room, the fronts of the legs of all your furniture need to at least fit on the rug. In a dining room, I really like it to where you can pull the chair out and the chair is still on the rug. That's the most ideal situation. Sometimes it's not possible, so as long as when all the chairs are pushed in, they're all on the rug, that is technically still acceptable, and I think that's okay. It's just you wouldn't want one to be tucked underneath and not all the chair is all, like in a dining room, right? You wouldn't want it to where the dining room chair isn't fully on the rug when it's pushed under. I think that's a little too small. Making sure that the bed and a bench at the end of the bed, that those things are most definitely all the way on that rug. That would be really important. I think scatter rugs in the bedroom can just be a little bit distracting, and it just looks, I don't know, half the time there's slipping wrists. I don't want somebody to fall on that, but I do think that it just looks cheap. And I think that you should, and most designers would agree, going for a rug that really fills out the room is gonna really make it look magnificent. There is one rule that all designers agree with, and that is that every room should have its function chosen. And you know, when you get online, you think, well, of course, you know, this is the living room, okay? We're gonna live in this room. It's gonna be a place we hang out. The bedroom's probably gonna have a bed, right? But the thing is that a lot of times we don't actually really think through the function of a space. Now, if you get online, you're gonna see some crazy photos of people putting gyms in the kitchen, not having a kitchen in the gym, but the gym in the kitchen, okay? You're gonna see people putting tubs and toilets right next to a bed. I saw one where there was actually a toilet next to the dining table, which is like on another level. That's just, ooh, grody. But you know what I'm saying? Like you see that and you think, that's silly. Who does that? But I think as well, we have to also think about the actual function of a room. How do we actually want to live in the space? Like when it comes to a living room, asking yourself these simple questions. Am I going to entertain in this space? How many people do I want to seat in here? What activities will we be doing in here? Are we gonna be watching TV? Are we gonna be reading books? If I want to sit by the fire and read my books, then not putting a chair by the fire is gonna make that a little harder. I've got my spot right by the end of the sofa, which kind of works for me, but a lot of times we pull the chair over, actually. You might also think about your dining room. Think about your dining room. How many people do you want to seat? Do you actually sit in there very often? How do you make that room function? And in your bedroom, the simplest things, of course, you're gonna need a bed. You're gonna need something to sleep on. But when you're thinking about what goes at the end of the bed, are you gonna be hanging out? Are you gonna be sitting there? I love having a chair in the bedroom because it's really nice for that chair to be there so that when my husband and I were just hanging out, chit-chatting, a lot of times at the end of the day, I'll be watching one of my little shows and he's sitting in the chair and we're kind of chit-chatting and hanging out. I love that. I love when the kids want to come in and we just kind of hang out in there. So I think thinking through the function of the room definitely goes beyond just, you know, those like, okay, this is where the toilet goes and this is where the sofa goes. I think it's take it a little bit further because that's really what designers would do with your spaces if they would really help you think through that. Every designer knows that you have to choose a color scheme. You have to. If you don't have a color scheme, the room can just feel like it just never really feels like it's pulled together. Things just don't. Designers use these words like things do not have a conversation with one another, and you're like, so my pillow is talking to my book. Well, okay, we realize that's not what's really happening, but in a way it is because our eye reads a room, and when it reads a room, it's visually calming when we have a little bit of repetition in the room. So if you've got an accent color like a caramel color, using that in multiple ways throughout the room makes the eye feel like there's a little bit of repetition. It's very calming. It feels right to us. Same with having black. If I'm gonna have black on the fireplace, I need black somewhere else in the room. But overall, the color scheme will make the space feel pulled together. It's gonna make it feel special. It's gonna make it feel thoughtful. It's gonna make it feel like your design was purposeful. And it doesn't matter if it's developed over time, right? You might pull some pillows from a different room. I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, I don't have enough beige, so I'm gonna go grab something from somewhere else. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to buy a couple more accessories in this color, right? Like, note taken, when I see something I love, I'll add it in. But I do think that it's really important. You need to have a color scheme, and it doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever your style is, whatever you really love, always surround yourself with a space that really reflects your style and really reflects the colors that you really enjoy living in. Every designer always says invest in art. And I know that this one can be expensive, but I think every every designer will tell you, you need to invest in your art. You've got to invest in the art. The art transforms your space. And when I say art, think about wall decor just in general, right? Mirrors, art, all these things kind of get lumped in together in the mind of a designer. It's the things that really define the space. They give it the drama, they give it the calm, they really give it that personality, right? There's only so much you can do with a pillow. The pillow has a say, and it definitely dictates the way you feel in a room, but the art is what really gives you the impact, really dictates the emotion of the room. And so I think that's why designers always say, and I agree, you need to invest in art. And on our channel, I'm so delighted that we've shown a lot of different kind of art over the years. Whether you love abstracts, whether you love landscapes, you can love impressionism, you can love whatever it is that you love. But I do think that it does dictate your space, and you should try to buy art that looks upgraded, even if you've bought it from somewhere like Amazon, or Etsy's another great site online. And buy art on Wayfair as well. That's another great place, right? So you don't have to spend a lot of money, but either way, I do think that art is really important to your space, and you should definitely think through how that plays into your color scheme, how it also plays into how you want to feel in your room. All of that really is dictated by the art, and that's why I think it's so important. Consider your trim work. This is another thing that all designers always think about. They always think about it. Most people who aren't designers just paint it white. Every time I've been around anyone, they just assume that trim work is supposed to be white. And then a designer comes in and we're like, whoa. Trim work can come in lots of different colors. You know, we just paint that, right? It can be black, it can be blue, it can be hot pink if you want it, right? It can be any color you want. It can match the color of the wall, it can contrast with the color of the wall. It's actually a really big element in the space that can really give you either a really high impact and create drama, or it can also be more soothing and more laid back. If you think about going high gloss on your trim work, it's definitely going to impact the space. And if you go with something that's matte, it's also gonna just be soft, it's gonna kind of disappear. That's definitely gonna have a different feel than the drama of that high gloss. So I think thinking about your trim work, it's a really big deal. Whether it's the trim around the doors, the floors, your crown molding, even your doors, all of that I just kind of lump all of that in. And you might want to think about how that dictates the feeling in the rest of the room. One final one, and this is one that this really is one that I just would never break, and I never break this rule anymore. Like, no. And that is that we need a dimmer. We put dimmers on everything. We're like in the bathroom, we're like, dimmer. In the dining room, dimmer. In the bed, definitely dimmer. In the living room, oh, how many dimmers are we gonna need for this room? So I love to install dimmers. I think almost all designers do. It's just a rule I wouldn't break. It's one that I have come to absolutely love, and I think you should try a dimmer, clearly. Now, you could get lamps like I have right here that have a really great dimming function. Love that on these. You could also do the Causa light bulbs. I don't have a box right now. We get them off of Amazon, and they're just a screw, and it's just a regular light bulb that's in the light, and you can put them on the app. I show this a lot because I should, have a sponsorship with them, but I don't. But you literally just tap the app, and inside, let me see. You can see in here where not only am I able to turn the light bulb on and off, but I can also click on my lamp in my bedroom, and I can just decide, oh, hang on, I turned it off, hang on. I didn't say I was good at this. Brightness, click on brightness and dim them, okay? So I can pull that back, and right now in the bedroom, that is being dimmed. It really does work, and it's life-altering. It is so nice. I've noticed my husband, he's kind of crazy about this. It's kind of his fault too, because he's obsessive about the dimmers. So at night, at 11 o'clock, this entire room dims like a restaurant. So he has it set through the app where at a certain time, you can even have the lights dim. I mean, that's a little extra, but I'm not arguing about it. Let me know what you think. So these are rules that I think are ones you should never break. And I'm very curious to hear what you guys think of each of these. Let me know if you agree or disagree on each of these. And also let me know if there's any that you think should have been on the list. I'm sure there's some more rules we should definitely not break. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and give the video a big old thumbs up if you're like me and you love talking about what rules we should follow, maybe some we should break. Let's talk about that in the next one. Until then, bye-bye.